Okay. Welcome to the Kings Road podcast. I am your host, the Aries Justin Younts, and I'm here with my co-host,
CDCent. What's up?
and I'm doing good. And we are here to change your view on professional wrestling. We are the Kings Road podcast. And what do we have in store for you today? We're talking Stone Cold Steve Austin, specifically 1996. So here we go.
You know, like we're talking about 96 right now. Like the whole point of this is we're gonna speak about the King's Road, and everybody know what King's Road is. What we're trying to apply to here is his road to the championship, his road to superstardom, which obviously starts in 96 and revolves around, the feud with Bret Hart. And we'll get to 97 and eventually 98, but right now we're going to talk about what started it all, obviously, the King of the Ring.
Well, let's start even a little bit further back. Austin comes in I believe he comes in January. And they announce him as the $1 million. He comes in with
actually he came in 95, right?
Really?
At the very tail end of 95. His first match was actually against Matt Hardy, December 18th in a house show. The ringmaster defeats Matt Hardy in a 5-minute match.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and then he fights Scotty 2 Hotty the next night.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he faced Scott. Yeah, he faced Scott Taylor in a 3-minute match. Although, wait, no. Look right here. Okay, yeah. WWF Monday Night Raw 140. Oh, yeah, because they were a taped show. I forgot about that. It doesn't air till January. But yeah, they taped it on
they used to tape like I think what is it, like 2 weeks of shows or something like that.
And then he was on Superstars with Scott Taylor. And then he's in the Royal Rumble. He did okay. I mean, but let's talk a little bit about the look that he presented. He had the if you've ever listened to Austin talk about it, he based that original look off of Pulp Fiction, Butch, the character played by Bruce Willis. That's why he's still got the hair there. Problem is he looks kind of out of place there. So at first he has like dark green tights, and he's got that. He's doing this promo like, put your hand on the television set and, feel me through the teeth and like that. That's not awesome.
Well, here's the thing. He doesn't know who he is.
No, he
doesn't. Who's the ringmaster? What's a ringmaster?
No,
he's the master of the ring.
But all they needed to do was watch what he was doing in ECW, and he had a real good idea of like how to present him. It just shows how out of touch, once again, the WWF was at that time. So he comes in, he does a little bit stuff with DiBiase. It doesn't go there, but by March 18th, he has shaved the head, and now he looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now he still has these tights that they're black, but they've got like a logo on them, and he's got star boots on. It's not him, but you can see the character coming through.
Yeah. The look that we know of Stone Cold, he says he got it inspired from Natural Born Killers and Woody Harrelson's character. So again, movies and inspiration.
And you can see that even as we go through 96, if you have that in the back of your mind, you've seen that movie, you can see that character there. Like you can see a lot of the Woody Harrelson character from Natural Born Killers bleeding through,
Yeah.
Like that really is Stone Cold Steve Austin in a lot of ways, is Woody Harrelson in Natural Born Killers.
And like month by month in 96, you start to see more creep in, but it really didn't start till King of the Ring.
Yeah. And let's right before that, the most high profile thing is this Savio Vega feud. Now they put him with Savio Vega. He's a good worker. They had nice matches. My problem in a lot of the matches, especially in WWF at this time, they're really pretty to watch, but they're boring and they're not very exciting.
And it's Savio Vega.
Yeah.
You know, like his biggest claim to fame is the fact that he beat Austin in a match. That's the biggest thing he ever did.
Yeah. I like the Caribbean strap match. I mean, they did one. This was at Beware of Dog, and the lights went out, so nobody got to see that. But then they did Beware of Dog 2, and this is where DiBiase on Raw announces if he doesn't win, he'll leave. So this is also, I think, a real pivotal point because once he loses Ted DiBiase,
The best thing that
he
happened to
can
him.
start to talk, and
Yeah.
that's what happens. So he loses the Caribbean strap match to Savio Vega, and then he moves on to the King of the Ring. He beats Marty Jannetty. Then he faces Savio Vega again. He beats him. Now at this point, I believe it is a Superstars match. He starts introducing the Stone Cold Stunner. Now at this time, the Stone Cold Stunner was just it looked very much like a neck breaker. It didn't
Uh,
have.
it kind of looked. It kind of looks like the Jeff Hardy twist of fate because he
Yeah.
would turn the guy's neck and then drop him. A couple months later, he would then, instead of twisting him, he would just do a whippersnapper, and he did that a lot, where he would try to kind of catch you out of nowhere in some finishes. But I really feel that it's once he gets the kick in, because when he kicks them, he jumps. And I feel that's what that snap when he jumps and hits him. I think that's what made the stunner the best, in my opinion, the best finisher of all time.
Yeah. The snap, the kick, and the snap. And you can actually see him doing that. He hasn't added the kick to the stunner, but you could see him doing that kick.
Yeah,
So you could see like he just kind of had to accidentally stumble upon it. The first actual showing of the stunner is June 8th, 1996, against a guy named Jason Arndt. And the guy, he's what we would call a jobber, but he sells it really well. Like the way he hits the stunner, even though it looks like a neck breaker, that jobber had the right idea of what the stunner needed to be.
yeah,
And then he cuts a
definitely.
promo on with Jim Ross, and you can see Stone Cold kind of bleeding through. He says whipped his butt. He doesn't say ass. He doesn't say ass till King of the Ring because he knows he can't be cut off. He
Yeah.
knows he's live. So then he beats Savio Vega, and then we are off to the King of the Ring where he faces Mark Romero. He beats Mark Romero, and then he faces Jake the Snake. And Jake the Snake is doing this biblical gimmick. And before he did this promo where he's talking about, flipping through the Bible or whatever. And apparently Austin gets busted open in the match in the lip. So he had to get he had to get stitches like immediately so he could come and finish.
And
And apparently,
honestly, I like that. I think that also added a little bit to the mystique of Austin. He had the
yeah,
busted lip. You know, they kept
yeah,
mentioning it in the match.
yeah. And Michael Hayes told him what Jake Roberts had said. So as he's out there doing the match with Jake Roberts, it's basically just, kind of a squash match because they had Vader already lay him out. So he basically just finishing him off. Stuns him, 1, 2, 3. We get to the thing, and that's where the Stone Cold character comes out. To me, this is right there. Talk about this moment.
To me, everybody always talks about the Austin 316 promo. It's one of the most iconic promos in wrestling history. But people feel that, like, it's the narrative, right? The WWE narrative that he said this promo and immediately became a megastar overnight. And this is what this show is
He
about.
should have been,
We
but no,
talk
they didn't do it.
No, and we talk about what happens right after the promo, but the promo itself is different than everything you saw on WWF in 96. You got to understand context and the landscape of WWF at the time. Everybody has a occupational gimmick. Um, Everything is colorful. Even like the main eventers, like Shawn Michaels, like I said, his promos felt very overly high energy.
Well, look, he's wearing that stripper outfit thing that he's
Yeah,
got with a cap. I don't know why he's ever
everybody
wearing that.
everybody is super amped up, but it feels amped up in a fake way, and the verbiage is it feels fake for the energy that the wrestlers were trying to imbue. But with Austin, you just see a guy that is pissed off and talks like a man would talk if he was mad. If he was mad that for 7 years he's been constantly told he's got to be pushed, and then they drop it, push, and then they drop it. You could tell, you could see the frustration in his face. You could see that he took this moment. It's like, I've been waiting 7 years to finally have a live mic where nobody's got to take me off. And I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want. And that's what the Austin 316 promo was. No one else was cursing at the time. No one else was talking the way Austin was talking.
And
And
think about this also.
it clicked.
He not only coined Austin 316, but he also coined, and that's the
That's
bottom
the
line,
bottom
because
line
Stone Cold
because
said
Stone
so.
Cold said so.
Like
Yeah.
both those things came out of not somebody writing lines, somebody's anger and passion. It came from passion. That's why I think it's stuck. I mean,
It's stuck because who is going to be more incentivized to think of something that'll get them over? The person trying to get himself over, or a writer who doesn't even know the person he's trying to get over, much
and
less how he talks.
and think about this. This is before the NWO. The NWO
Yeah.
hasn't happened. That happens July 7th, 1996.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already changing. In some ways, the whole wrestling business is changing all at the same time. Because WCW is about to do the NWO, and then you see that happening with Austin, but they don't grasp onto it till
And that's the
later.
difference. When the NWO happened, you saw an entire shift in WCW. Austin did the promo, and you didn't see a shift really till a year or so later. I would honestly say you didn't see a shift in the company till DX.
Yeah.
Be-
Yeah. October of 97.
yeah, because it's not that Austin didn't do it first, but they didn't make everybody else change. Wrestling sometimes is a bit of a copycat league in a sense. And it took WWEF at the time a lot longer to get it. But
Yeah.
once they finally got it, that's when we got, honestly, in my opinion, the best era in wrestling we ever saw.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. I mean, it's quite. I mean, but it's amazing. I mean, because it's right there.
Yeah.
Everything you should have been. They should have scrapped what they were doing with Vader and Shawn Michaels and just went with him at there. Maybe he doesn't win, but he should have already been in the main event by then.
But instead of being in the main event, this is what happens. Literally, right after King of the Ring, he has a match with The Undertaker.
Yeah.
You don't even get his entrance.
At that time, he had that stupid, like almost very similar to the harpsichord thing that Hunter Hearst Helmsley has. That doesn't say anything.
But you know how Vince thinks, and the fact that when he doesn't give a guy an entrance, especially the guy who just won the King of the Ring, it's because he doesn't believe in him. Not yet.
He was Oscar.
Like, to put in perspective, some people don't understand this. Back then, if you won the King of the Ring, you main evented at SummerSlam for the WWF title. The last two King of the Rings, that was the stipulation. Austin wins, no longer the stipulation. Not only that, he was in the pre-show match, what they used to call free fall back then, and beat Yokozuna in a 2-minute match.
I mean, it's funny though. I mean, even after that, in July, he does commentary during a match with Mark Marrow, and you can listen to his commentary and you can hear Stone Cold already coming through.
Yeah.
And they're still not going with it. And then he, yeah, as you said, he faces Yokozuna on the free for all, which is basically a dark match for most. I mean, it's very hard to find that. One thing that was very hard for us to find, I only found remnants of it, was the international incident. Austin does a dark match on that, or for the free for all, but he cuts another Austin 316 promo, and he goes into a little bit more depth on what that is. Like, explain, and it's nowhere to be found. I mean, like, why is this stuff? What's the point of a network and of the Peacock and everything if you're not going to have all this stuff? If it's not going to be the hub for everything wrestling, I mean, if I have to go and I had to search on YouTube to find superstars matches because they don't have superstars on there.
Super hard to find superstars, especially from '96. You know what else is very hard to find? Those old Slammy awards. Like I was like the Slammy awards from '96, '97.
They've got they had those on the original network. Did they not cross over?
No, in fact, I believe in the network they had all the Slammies but the '97, '96 Slammies.
That I know. I don't get it. I don't get it. What's the point of having the slam? I mean, it's a stupid thing anyways, but I mean, yeah, but you did have Austin doing promos on there. Why is it not on there?
Like I like the Slammies in that era. For one, it's one of those landmark Austin moments when he gives a promo on The Rock saying I don't know how many times you phoned in to vote for yourself, son, but you are not the rookie of the year.
I mean, you see anybody doing that like today? I mean, that's what a guy should say.
Yeah. And the two biggest stars to me in that Slammies was Austin and Sable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she won the best outfit thing.
Oh, yes.
Is that probably why they don't have it on there? It's too risque.
I doubt it. I mean, they used to have everything else.
I mean, why? Because why would you not have that?
You know what's also infuriating? Like right after Austin wins the King of the Ring, a couple weeks later, while Austin's entrance is playing in a rematch against Undertaker again, where it's another DQ finish, they play Mark Henry video from like the Olympics and like him training. They prioritize Mark Henry over the guy who just won the King of the Ring.
Sexual chocolate.
Like. But one thing
they would never get away with that today.
You could definitely see that Taker liked Austin because he got more offense than I saw any other guy of his level get.
Well, yeah, I mean, Taker and Austin, they both were in WCW together, so they probably rode together. And I think in World Class, they were together. So I mean, they've been up and down the roads a little bit. So I mean, he knows how good he is, and like he's just like. I mean, you can see how good he is in the ring.
Yeah.
But here, no discussion about that.
Here is a key element why I mentioned Taker. Because I think it's something we sometimes lose nowadays. When the guy who's in a good position, okay, that guy has something. Let me bring him over. And this is a very important detail when it comes to Austin, because you could tell immediately Taker wanted to work with him. But more importantly, and in my opinion, is what made him, Brett really went on the line to really want to work with him. It's like, he's my first opponent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Brett at that time could work with anybody.
Anybody.
And I bet he probably saw that 316 promo, or like he probably had already seen his match. He was just like, but he saw that 316 promo and he was probably like, that right there's the star. Let me work with him. Just like he did The Rock.
And to put this in perspective, right? We just mentioned that Austin was in the pre-show at SummerSlam. He went from pre-show at SummerSlam to the semi-main event in Madison Square Garden in Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Because of Brett.
Uh-huh. And Brett was willing. Brett had the pull. Like if he wanted to, like if this was Sean and he was talking all that crap about him and making fun of, saying basically he's a sissy and talking about the colors of his tights and stuff. Sean would have cut it off right then and there.
Of
But
course.
Brett knew where he saw the gold in it and was like, no, let him do that. Even in their, well, we're jumping ahead there, but even in their interviews, you can see the two. You could see him giving Austin a lot.
And he was giving Austin
And
a
he's
lot.
not letting Austin, he's letting Austin. Same thing. There's, well, that's in October. All right, we'll get to that when he does the commentary with Kurt Hennig. Kurt
Yeah.
Hennig basically sets him up for lines and stuff, and gets in his face. But you can see Kurt Hennig going out there and giving Austin the spotlight.
Yeah.
He's not doing.
Now, mind you, now let's get back to like right after King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Around 3 weeks after King of the Ring, the guy he beat in the quarterfinals of the King of the Ring, Mark Merrow. You don't know him?
Well, man,
that's
Mark
fine
Merrow.
Because nobody knows who Mark Merrow is.
I'm just gonna say this about Mark Merrow. He should have stuck with the Wild Man Mark Merrow thing, because that was way more interesting than marvelous Mark Merrow.
But look, Mark Merrow then beat Austin. I know via DQ, but the fact is, the guy who he beat in the quarterfinals is now beating him within a month from the King of the Ring.
You heard that story? Did you ever hear that story Foley tells about where he's standing there, and the merchandise guy is showing him stuff, and he's showing him a Mark Merrow shirt or whatever, and Austin comes over and says, well, you got a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt? He's like, no, we don't really have that at this time. I just got to looked at it, like, big mistake right there. They thought Mark Merrow at that time was a bigger merchandise seller than the guy who pretty much is the only person to compete with Hogan. There you go.
Well, you got to remember at the time, Mark Merrow was the first guarantee contract WWE did at the time. That pissed everybody off.
And you can tell Vince likes Merrow just from this commentary. Like he liked him.
I think he liked Sable. I think he liked really Sable,
but the way he presented Mark Merrow, even in those sketches, you could tell somebody that Vince doesn't care about and somebody that he does care about. He gave Merrow a lot. I mean, that's why I think he should have stayed with the Wild Man thing. When he changes, that was the death of him. But anyways, who gives a crap about fucking Mark Merrow?
But yeah, around July and September, like, you can see they probably had Goldust and Mark Henry ahead of Austin as total pole guys. You could tell that on the show. Mankind also, but that was fine. Mick Foley was a bigger star going into WWE than Austin. That's fine. He was main eventing with Vader. He was main eventing with Sting. Then he started main eventing with Taker. That's fine.
But part of the reason, though, Foley came in straight up is because he's going right ahead to work with Taker.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can bury him.
And beating him.
Yeah. That nobody saw that. That was something that was new. Another person who had a real similarity to Austin in promo style is
Brian Pillman. Like in this time period, he definitely was shining to me. Outside of Austin, there's just a level of realism to Pillman. Now, everything he does is very bombastic, very loud, very crazy. But here's the important part. You thought he was actually crazy.
Yeah.
At the time, you start to notice Austin whenever he has the jeans and goes out, and you see this from 96 to most of up to 2000 and whatnot. he always had a gold chain on. And that gold chain, as he's mentioned before, he got it from Pillman when they first started teaming as the Hollywood Blondes. He only started wearing it, I noticed this, once Pillman came into WWF. So I feel that he must have been trying to signal a potential feud down the line. And that's why he started wearing it on TV.
What one thing, just backtracking a little bit to Austin, because I'm going through some of the superstars right here. Um, it's on July 6th, 1996, which is funny. One day before the NWO comes out, that's when Austin comes out in the jeans and beats the crap out of Aldo Montoya. And to me, that's like the first, that and that commentary later on in July are like that. I feel like Austin built himself up on Superstars and In the Dark,
Well,
away
that's
from Vince.
because I would imagine it's exactly because of that. It's because Vince didn't really take that much part into Superstar, so he could do what he wanted. You saw
Yeah.
Austin just do what he wanted, and it was great.
Like when he comes out in just jeans and the boots, that it makes such a big difference because he just comes off like
Real.
a star. He looks like a star. He looks like, I don't need to wrestle. I ain't gonna wrestle you.
I'm the biggest star here.
I'm the biggest star. Yeah, I'm the biggest star here. Yeah. I mean, yeah. When we talk about he's cocky, but there's that cockiness, but it's in a different way than like
It's
say
in
a
a
Rock
realm
or
of
Shawn Michaels.
reality.
Yeah.
It's a realm of reality to his cockiness. He has the confidence of a superstar athlete.
And he has the gold chain on in this match. And he just goes straight. He comes right out straight, even though he doesn't even have the glass break. He still has the walk of the glass break.
The
It, it, it's
BMF walk.
it's like we talked about with like the belt. Does the belt make the guy? Austin was already the guy. You just needed to hand him a belt, and the same thing with his music. He was already Stone Cold Steve. The music just enhanced him.
Exactly.
He could come out to any music. I mean, I don't know. We'll be careful with that, but
Well,
that
that's what was
crappy
great about
music.
Jim Johnson. He really captured Stone Cold.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get to that. That's not till October.
Yeah.
So all right. So we talked about, Pillman starts coming in 96. And then we see, so let's get to the promo with Pillman, where he basically, this is where Austin had just had a match, I think in South Africa, or it wasn't South Africa, somewhere around
Yes,
there
it
with
was in South
with
Africa.
Shawn Michaels, and it was
Oh,
really good. And I think Brett saw that. And so in September of 96, this is where it's actually on Superstars. Pillman, this is where Austin, calls out Bret Hart. He's the first person to say, I want to face Bret Hart. Beginning the return of Bret Hart. And it's in September. That brings us to Mind Games, and he cuts the great promo where he says, if you put the letter S in front of
I hit,
Hitman,
man.
you got my exact opinion of Bret Hart. And I'm like, little things like that. A writer could not write that unless they
No.
were only writing for Austin.
Also,
And
you got to
that's,
notice at the time, they were kind of associating Austin a lot with Pillman and Owen Hart. I don't
yeah,
exactly know why, but they were doing that a lot.
I think because they wanted him to be, they knew Bret was coming in and they were like,
Also,
oh,
they kept saying Pillman is his best friend. They kept doing that.
yeah,
And Pillman would say, "My best friend."
yeah. And
Oh
Stone
man,
Cold would kind of look at him like, hey, we ain't friends. I don't have no,
the way he
I
would
got
look
no
at him.
friends. I just love that.
But you know what was perfect? I loved when Bret Hart comes back and says he accepts the match, and the way that Pillman is celebrating, and
Yeah,
Austin
and then he does that
turned
little turn.
like,
Yeah. All right, we're jumping the gun here. That's October. Let's finish with
yeah, yeah,
September, because notice when he comes out in Mind Games, he does have the vest. It's just It's black. It
Yeah.
doesn't. I think it has in the back Stone Cold, but that's it.
See, by mind games, you start to slowly see, you know, it was a regular vest, didn't have anything, but you're starting to see the mold,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He also mentions Austin 316 as he's walking to the ring in mind games. A lot of people didn't notice that.
Wait,
He
where does
was
he just?
yelling
Oh, he said
while
yells
he's
it.
walking to the ring, he's screaming Austin 316. And I don't know what else he said after that, but I definitely caught it. He
See, that's
started
what I
just
love
saying
about
it.
Austin. He was already like, look, you're not going to give me a shirt. You're not going to give me that. Well, I'm going to get this over anyway. Even if I don't have a shirt, I don't have that. I'm going to put it on this. I'm going to do like he was already thinking of new ways, you know, to get it out. And that's
And by
why
this
he's doing
point,
it.
his promos are so above everyone else in presence and reality.
Yeah,
Nothing fake uh would come out of Austin, and he felt like the Lone Ranger, you
yeah, he
know.
did. He
Now I
really
gotta
did.
say, why the fuck does Austin have fog in his entrance still at this point?
Okay. Part of that is just they're lazy and they don't know what to do yet.
I mean, even when he started having the glass break, they still had it.
I think they were doing that for like everybody though, weren't they?
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. It was just
No, Undertaker and Austin and Mankind.
he's not a character with fog. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they just
You
forgot.
know, and that reminds me when Austin wanted to make the Austin 316 shirt, Vince told them, "Oh, it looks too much like the Undertaker. Go ask him for permission."
Yeah,
I don't know what about his
because he said the
character Vince
skulls.
felt was like the Undertaker. The fog.
He said the skulls. That was the thing. He said that skulls was Undertaker's thing. I guess in merchandise, that's true.
There was
Even though
never any
uh,
merchandise with the Undertaker at that time with a skull on it. The only time he had a skull, I believe, kinda, was when he was a Big Evil. And we're talking about
yeah,
what,
yeah, but that's
2002?
but apparently Vince just thought since he's the dead man, he has the
The
quota of
rights to skulls?
it's stupid, but you know that's why when Austin asked him, like Taker was
Well,
like,
then don't put
sure.
fog in his entrance. That's the Undertaker's too.
I know, but this is when the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Vince doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why
I
they did.
know,
But
but
anyways, Taker said, "Yeah, go ahead," and we won't. Let's. We'll talk about the Austin 316 shirt in '97, but
yeah,
we don't get an Austin 316 shirt till '97. It took them that
exactly.
long to come up with that shirt. You knew he had that
And
idea
and not
already.
only it took them that long, they didn't want to make the shirt to begin with. He
Eh?
needed to ask the Undertaker for permission. And if the Undertaker was Shawn Michaels, that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, well, you know, Sean like skulls, so you need to go ask Sean. And Sean would have been like Cena when JTG did the thing. He's like, well, you know, that merchandise you got coming. I think you might have
Nah,
to wait on that.
yeah.
Is that the people forget about that? They don't, you know, they always want to give Cena the free pass, and I always go back to like, no, he's very much like Shawn
And
Michaels.
see, around in September, Austin and Shawn had a match on Raw. Dirty finish again. Not he's not beating any. See, he's not losing, but he is not beating anybody. He's not winning any matches. He's being booked against top guys, but since he's not winning any of these matches and they're not putting him in squash matches on Raw, really, he's not really winning many matches on TV. So if you're
All he's
just
got to go
watching,
on is
this
his
is promos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very
And
similar to what Raw is now. A
yeah,
bunch of bullshit finishes. Like I
but
mean, the finish with Shawn is a bullshit finish. It's not.
that being said, it was a bullshit finish, but I was just thinking, God, this is a good 10-minute bullshit match. And I was saying, man, if they could have added this, Shawn and this Austin at WrestleMania 14, who knows what you could have had.
That would have been great. Look at the Shawn. I mean, we're jumping again, but Shawn and Austin in '97, the King of the
And
Ring
King
match.
of the
That's a
Ring.
good match.
It was a good match. It
I
was a good
mean,
match.
it sucks. We never got the. I mean, yeah, that match at 14 just sucks. It's
But
like
I
it's
mean,
not
let's
even
be honest. It's
Sean.
not like Sean couldn't have come back during the Attitude Era and have that match. We
Yeah,
know he
he
was
wasn't going to do
fine.
that. Yeah.
We know he was fine. He just didn't want a job to nobody.
That's why I've always said, I think Brett would have been the better guy to do, because you could have gone back to, you could have done spots with the 13, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. All right, let's talk about, all right,
Buried
so yeah,
alive.
so now we get to, so we get to Buried Alive, and we get, well,
To
wait,
me,
actually the Raw after, I think, Mind Games is the first Raw where he has the Austin 316 painted on the, on the, on the jacket, on the vest.
no, it's in Buried Alive.
I noticed it on that Raw too.
It's on both.
I noticed it on the Raw after Mind Games. I was like, I guess they didn't finish it yet. Like similar to how it happened with Sean when he wins the title at the Survivor Series '02. They hadn't finished his tights yet. So he had to
Yeah.
come out with brown shit tights. I'm like, how do you
And
fuck
and
that up?
also WrestleMania 15 when he forgot the vest and had to wear the
I know.
rattlesnake shirt.
Why didn't they just go and buy a leather jacket, cut the sleeves off? I mean, they've got a seamstress. Couldn't they have just done
I'd
something?
go one further. It's Stone Cold. Why don't you just get somebody on the fucking jet and get the damn jacket?
Well, here's probably what happened. You probably noticed like that day, and he's like, "There's not enough time to have somebody go and get the jacket."
Come on. They have
I
a
did,
private jet.
but I mean, but you, it can't go faster than what time you're gonna get it there. I mean,
He's
if
in the
he,
main event.
I know,
That's
but
like
if he,
3 hours right
I
there.
know, but say he opens the thing and he sees it at like 6, and the show starts at 8. You need enough
I don't
time to go
believe for
back.
1 second that at 6 it took Austin several hours to know that he missing his
I
vest.
don't know. Knowing Austin, he probably was just so pissed he didn't even tell anybody. He was
Maybe.
just so, because you know how angry he would be.
But see, Buried Alive to me was very important.
That's
For
the
one,
beginning of the music.
this is when you see Austin as we know him. This is the first instinct. You
This is
see
where we
the
get
Austin
this.
316 vest. You see the glass break music made by Jim Johnson, which it's extremely important to the package of Austin.
Yeah, but he already had but as we said before, he already had the BMF walk. This is the first time we see all of the things together, like
Yes, everything
all
is
as a
coming
package.
together, and but I think the music is so important because it was, especially by the time he reaches his heights at in middle of 97 and 98, when you heard that glass break, there was no pop that I could compare that glass break and a full arena back in the Attitude Era. There's nothing
September of
that can.
'97. That's when they react to the glass break. It took September of '97. It took a whole fucking year for them to react to a glass break, but which is just amazing. It's like nowadays, if you heard that glass break, they would have reacted automatically. But I don't know. It's a different era then.
It's definitely a different era, and
But
that's
you
the
can
thing.
see even at Buried Alive, fans are already starting to take to Austin.
Yeah.
You can see them, cheer. One, they've made the mistake of putting him against Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and I'm
And
like,
that's another.
who's the
This is
heel?
another reason why Buried Alive is so important to the package of Austin. You have him with the music now. You have him with the walk. You have him with the cursing. And then you have him in the ring against the guy that was supposed to win that King of the Ring in the first place.
Yeah.
And to me that's just perfect. And
Yeah.
like it was a good little match.
But here's the thing that was great about it. Right before he does the stunner, what does he do?
Yes.
He does this. That's the first time
Fuck you.
that's the first time I've seen him actually do that.
Yeah.
I watched all this in succession. I looked for that and I was like, oh, there it is.
No, you're right.
That's where he did it. And that's why I asked you, is like, did they blur it out on the live feed, or is that something that they did because Peacock sucks now?
Yeah, that's a Peacock thing. Like
That is Peacock.
they didn't used to censor pay-per-views. If you remember that era, pay-per-view was all about uncensored.
Yeah.
You know, yeah,
So
they
so they
didn't
did
do that.
so that is something that they've done in post production.
Yeah, that was done in
Have
post-production.
they censored all of his fingers now in on Peacock?
I'm not sure.
It's like
He does.
when we get to Austin Tyson, to me, that's the other big when he flips off Mike Tyson. I'm like, if that's censored, I don't know what to say.
I
What
would
is the point
like
of a
to
network?
believe. I would like to believe it's not, but we'll get to there and we'll see. And if it does, we'll probably do an episode just on the
Just
blasphemous.
burying the hell out of that thing.
Yeah.
Because that is bullshit. I don't want to wait. I'm doing it as we speak right now. Is that if they
Now,
actually do that?
this is another
Bullshit.
important part of Buried Alive. It's the first show with the commentary, and remember, Vince is the commentator at the time. And they're mentioning Austin having different language and using middle fingers. And this is really the first time they're acknowledging it, because he was kind of already doing a little bit of this, but they never really acknowledged the like how different his language was from everybody else in the era. Which
Yeah.
also means that this is probably the first time Vince was like, you know what, let's go here.
Well, he was getting his ass kicked now by WCW. Now we're into 83 weeks of like really getting his ass kicked. So now he's got to be a little bit more open to new ideas.
Yeah, like now, bring Bruce Pritchard. Very,
No, he
he-
doesn't. He don't have a clue now. It's amazing. But now he's surrounded himself with more yes men. You can say what you will about Vince Russo, but Vince Russo did say to Vince, "Your stuff that you're doing sucks," and not one of those yes men are ever going to say that.
Vince Russo was never a yes man. That's the only compliment I could.
That's one thing I
Well,
like.
I mean, honestly, I can compliment Vince Russo on a lot of things. I don't hate him as much as you do. I
I
think
don't
he was
hate
pivotal.
him,
I
but
think he was pivotal for the era. But like we described before, people that
he's
have their hand on the pulse on one thing very seldom have their hand on the pulse on other aspects.
yeah.
You know, a booker that's great in one generation is normally bad in another.
But I
And a
look at
writer and a
TNA
writer
is the thing that really where I'm just like he let that they could have maybe been AEW level somewhat. Maybe not quite as big, but that Russo held them back.
I don't think Russo held them back. I think Dixie held them back because in the end of the day, who
Yeah,
gave
she
Russo the
employed
power?
him, which was
Yeah.
stupid.
Not only employed him, like
Got them
Spike
off.
told her not to hire this man, and she lied and hired him anyway. That's the epitome of stupidity. Not only that, like really went after Meltzer for announcing it. His job.
No, I know. Well, Mike Johnson of PW actually was the one that he sent the wrong. She thought she was sending a thing to Mike Tenay. Instead, she sent it to Mike Johnson.
But here's another thing about Buried Alive.
It is uncensored when he flips them off.
Here's another thing about Buried Alive, right? I don't know if you notice this in the match with Triple H. You can start to see him going more towards the brawling style. Because before this, you know, he was a lot of holds, vicious holds, maybe some strikes from the ground, cheating here and there. But this is the first time you really see him adapting more of a brawler style. He still did some holds and whatnot, but it was more brawling base. This is before the injury where he went completely brawling base after Owen Hart crippled him and didn't apologize for it.
But here's the thing that's interesting. Like, I like this. I think this was the perfect mix of what Austin needed to be, was the technical mixed with the brawler. The sad thing is, after
should have apologized. I'm just
Yes, he
saying.
definitely should have. He should never done the move to begin with. It was it's a stupid move. Um, especially if somebody, I don't know, just anyways, he was never the same after that. And he could only do brawling. The only time he really did technical wrestling again was like a little bit with Rock, and then with Kurt Angle was he
Kurt Angle,
trusted
yeah.
Kurt Angle. And that was the only time, like, but I thought that was the perfect mix because that gave him the, because he's such a good technical wrestler. I don't think people realize how good of a technical wrestler Austin really is. They just think he's a brawler. I was listening to some YouTube comments who said Austin didn't do anything. You know, he had no moves or whatever. And I was just kind of like,
See, I here's the thing that people need to like.
ridiculous.
People complain, oh, he does the same moves and whatever. You pick me a megastar in wrestling, and I'll tell you the same 5 moves they do over and over again.
Yeah.
Every megastar that I've ever known, at least in the modern era, since the 80s onwards, has had a list of moves that they do before they finish the match.
The only guy that's really tried to buck that in some ways was probably Danielson in ROH in '06. He
And right
tried
now,
to,
and
and
right
then right
now,
now, yeah, he's trying to do.
but in
Tried to do it.
WWE during his peak, he was doing the same gimmick shit, the flying thing, and
Well, that's where
the
I think Vince comes in and screws things up, is he's like, I want that in every match. I think
yeah,
that's an edict.
yeah.
And I don't think Austin was going to fight with that one.
Well, I mean, there's a logic to it. The logic is that you're trying to put the same product on against every territory, every, city, every state. You want them to anticipate certain moves to pop for certain moves, especially the finisher, which is something that Vince historically, and when I mean historically, I'm talking about more 80s and 90s, they were really good at getting that finisher pop over. But
Yeah.
also what made that finisher pop over is the fact that when somebody did a finisher, that was it.
Yeah.
Now everybody kicks out of every single move. So you don't have that dynamic.
Well, they thought they were doing Japanese wrestling, but they're like, they didn't kick out of every, they would, they would tease it, but they didn't like always kick out of every move. That's something that ROH started doing.
See, I
ROH
think
was
the
doing that more.
problem is, so somebody tells Vince, "Oh yeah, Japanese wrestlers do their finishers like 5 times during a match." So then he applies it, not understanding the psychology behind that,
Yeah.
and thinking, "Okay, you just do your finisher a million times and kick out a million times." There's a psychology to it. Does Okada sometimes hit a Rainmaker 3 or 4 times? Yes, but it's never the way WWE. There's no
Yeah.
psychology behind
And
it.
when he hits the 3 Rainmakers, very rarely does anyone kick
And,
out.
and
Somebody will
let's
kick
be
out of maybe
honest.
one Rainmaker, but not
Let's
that.
be honest, and let's be totally honest. When it comes to WWE, the reason they started doing that isn't because of Japan, it's because of Austin and Rock at WrestleMania. The second they started a theme of kicking out of finishers, and then other guys were using it in their
But
WrestleMania
you
main
could go
events.
even further back than that. Like go to No Way Out to 2001. That was Triple H kicks out of the
Yeah,
stunner.
but The Rock kicked out of the stunner in 1999 at
Yeah, he
WrestleMania
did, but he
15.
was the only guy. Like they
Exactly
never
at the
had.
time, but how do things start?
Yeah.
They start small and then the snowball expands. So first, Austin had the Rock kick out,
Yeah.
right?
All right, we're gonna get to this. We're completely in like 2001 now. Let's go back to '96. So we're finished, buried alive. That's that to me. That is where you see Stone Cold Steve Austin. The way you see him. That is he's right there.
Yes.
Everything that he would be is there. The only thing that's missing is the kick to the gut and the stunner.
Yeah.
But even the way he hits the stunner now, he's starting to hit it like the way he would. The problem is the guys aren't selling it the way they would. They're selling it too much like a neck breaker. Like if you watch the way even Triple H hits, he just falls forward.
Yeah.
Later on, he'll take the snap and they'll fall backwards. They don't fall forward, and then he's got to pull them over.
But Triple H always had a weird way of selling the stunner in that time period.
Yeah,
Once it got to 2099, he started selling it better. But he always did this weird shit where he would stand up immediately after taking the stunner a lot of times and then fall flat on his face, which I thought is a little too comedic and jobberish.
Well, look at Rock when he would do the little jump thing.
I love that. I love the oversell. I love the Rock oversell. Because I think it made the finisher look so devastating. Because you only really saw that stunner at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Which I think added to that.
If we're talking about favorite stunner sells, I'd say I always liked the way Taker and Kane would do it. Kane would just fall forward. You don't like it?
No. I didn't like the way Undertaker ever did it, because he would do it with one knee up. Which is, and I don't like that. Kurt Angle did it the same way.
What about Kane?
I don't like when Kane gets on his knees, because it's like when he used to do the tombstone. There's just a weird animation to it, where he just drops, but it's fine. I didn't hate it. I like it more than Taker's cell.
So who would you say is your favorite cell of
The Rock?
Stunner?
The Rock. The Rock and Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, yeah, I'll give you that. I don't know.
The Rock and Shawn Michaels. I love the oversell of The Rock. Scott Hall is also up there. I really like the oversell stunner at WrestleMania 18.
It's too much. I feel like it's too much.
It is too much, but guess what? It's because he took a stunner from the biggest star in wrestling. It should be dramatic. And plus, it's Scott Hall.
Remember what he did. All right, he hits a stunner, and then he's just staggering a minute. Then he hits another stunner, and he falls. It's kind of stupid. To me, it kind of. I bet Austin didn't like that. There's no way Austin liked the fact that he's taking two stunners like that. He's like, Austin's very protective of his finish. He was probably Scott Hall being Scott Hall. And
I think Austin is protective of the finish getting kicked out of. He didn't kick out of it. He just did it twice in a row, which he has done before. In fact, that animation that he did is very similar to one he's done with Triple H around 99, where he stunners him, he stands back up and stunners him again. He would do that a lot. As long as you don't kick out of the move, that, like, to me, I think that's the most important thing, right? I'd rather you take the finisher twice in a row than you take it once and kick out and then not kick out the second time. You get it? Like, to me, that's a better way to do a finish.
I'm watching. I've got a clip of Kane taking the stunner right now, and I'm watching him take. He just falls. He doesn't go to his knees. He just falls. Like when he beats him for the title at Raw.
Yeah.
He just falls. He almost takes a front bump in the way. The fact that he's that tall and he can do that is kind of amazing. Like,
well, you got to remember that's also why he busted his knees so quick, because you remember he used to like drop when he would do the tombstone.
That was what was cool about it. Is you do like it was almost like a jumping tombstone.
I liked it, but it hurt his knees.
No, I know it sucks.
But see, okay, so let's get back
let's go back to 96. Yeah. Okay, well, tune in to next week for part 2, and the truth
shall set you free.
Thank you for watching the Kings Road podcast. You can subscribe here.
To get the latest clips and news on the show, or like us on Facebook.com/Kings Road Podcast, or email us at podcastkingsroad@gmail.com.
Also, check out our Instagram at Kings_Road_podcast and our Twitter at the KRP Podcast. Thank you.